Scott Hobgood with Beyond Normal Boundaries. Today we will be talking with Scott Venezia on one of his speeches, Comatose to Consciousness. Scott has a book that will be near a bookstore near you called The Art of Choice, Master the Art, Master Your Life. Scott also has a book which can be downloaded free from his website, scottvenezia.com. It is called Manifest Miracles, which are the hidden keys to unlocking the law of attraction. The law of attraction is how to create your desires using the known laws of the universe. Scott Venezia is an author. He is a director of the Public Speaking Association chapter in Las Vegas, Nevada. He is a lifestyle coach, and he is an in-demand speaker on subjects like Comatose to Consciousness, From Ordinary to Extraordinary, 45 Fat and Afraid of Dying. Scott, thank you for joining us today.
Absolutely. It's my pleasure as always, Mr. Hobgood. How are you this evening?
Well, thank you. I'm guessing Comatose to Consciousness is about making choices from an unconscious mentality to making choices in an intentional manner. Would you agree with my guess?
Yeah, you're pretty darn close. Wow. I think we're going to have you do the show. I'm kidding. Yeah, it's moving from living from the affective life to creating your life and being cognizant of everything that happens in your life and how you react and act to everything. Most of us live a life of habits and patterns. I should say most. Everybody lives a life of habits and patterns, both physical habits and patterns and emotional habits and patterns. And we all do what's most comfortable. That's what we're used to because nobody wants to be uncomfortable. So to give you an example, for the listeners, if you're not driving and you're able to do this safely, I want you to clasp your hands like you are in church. I don't care what denomination you are. I'm pretty sure everybody prays. Clasp your hands in prayer. Okay? Now, if you'll notice, you'll take a look. Is your left thumb over your right thumb or your right thumb over your left thumb?
My right thumb was over my left thumb.
Your right's over your left. See, my left is over my right. I want you to move your hands and move them over one. So now it's just the opposite. Your left is over your right.
Okay.
Does it feel kind of odd, huh?
Yes.
A little bit different. See, that's a habit. As simple as that is, that's a habit, and it's comfortable for us to do that. And doing it the other way feels uncomfortable. And that's pretty much how we live our lives in everything that we do. Let me give you a couple of life examples. Let's say that you're getting ready in the morning, okay? Everybody has their own pattern of what they do when they get up. Yours might be to get up and go start the coffee first, then go pee, then brush your teeth, then get in the shower. Everybody's pattern is different. And that's how we live our lives, through those patterns. And how you drive to work in the morning or in the evening. Most of us take the same routes to work because it's familiar, because that's what we know. I mean, I've actually, in the past, taken different routes to work just to do something different, to experience something and step out of that normal box that I live in. And you'd be amazed when you do that intentionally, and then you pay attention, the different things that you notice, the different things that you see around different people, different businesses, and so forth, because you've changed that simple little pattern. Like when we get comfortable in our patterns, for example, in an emotional state, in a pattern, when we're confronted for whatever reason, we normally react in the same way. If we're confronted in a negative manner, just out of habit, we react out of anger.
So
we react to defend ourselves because it's a habit.
So when you're breaking, so it sounds like to me what you're trying to get people to consider is to change their habit and to get out of their comfort zone. And in order to get out of your comfort zone, what kind of benefits are created from that?
From getting out of your comfort zone, because you experience something different, something that you did not know you can experience. And that goes along with anything. Whether you take a different route to work, like I said, you're going to see different people. You're going to encounter different people on the road, different people along the side of the road. You're going to pass different businesses. You're going to get more familiar with your city. If you break that pattern of how you react to someone in a confrontation, you're going to experience something totally different, because there's a lot of when you're confronted on in a negative basis with somebody, in normal, a lot of people go along with that, and with those, with those reactions, you're going to feel on a different level, maybe not consciously, but a different level, you're going to feel bad because you reacted that way. You know, you shouldn't have reacted that way. So now when you react a different way, consciously, then you go, oh, wow, this is how this feels. I don't feel that remorse. I don't feel like I did the same old stuff again. You're experiencing something new, and it's a positive.
Now, when
So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Experience something different on a different level that's out of your norm, it opens up possibilities for you to go, oh, wow, there's a lot more to life, both emotionally and physically, than I've been experiencing.
Now, when there's one thing that comes to mind when you were talking about that, and it's kind of off subject a little bit, but I was wondering, when in your paths of crossing other people, and you're talking about feelings, is that something that people understand? And the reason I ask that is feelings is kind of a tough thing for me to understand or define what I'm feeling, and I'm wondering in what you do, if that is sort of a normal occurrence.
Just so I can clarify, so what you're saying is, let's say that you're confronted with a confrontation with someone. The normal pattern feelings that come up for you when you experience that, is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. Well, sometimes when I'm being confronted, it's the same thing. You know, I may feel a little bit of anger or something like that. But I think, and that I kind of understand. But other feelings, when it gets outside of sort of the norm feelings about things, is when it starts getting challenging for me. But anyway, I didn't mean to take that off down that tangent.
No, that's fine. And I think when you read the book, The Art of Choice, and you understand that in those moments when you are in a confrontation or some kind of interaction, that you have a myriad of choices of what you can do with that.
Right.
And you can immediately disregard any other possibilities and continue with your same old patterns, which are going to get you the same results, obviously. Right. You have the choice of stopping and breathing and go, okay, there's a different way to look at this. This is my perception, and I need to shift this now. This other person may have a different opinion of the situation, and that is all along. Their opinion comes with all of their history and all of their baggage, and it doesn't make it right or wrong. It just makes it different. And because it's different, it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to enter into a confrontation with it and argue your point and make yourself right, because that's what most people do. They want to be right. Am I correct?
Yeah, yes, that I agree with you wholeheartedly on that. And what I'm getting from what you're saying is that in order to, you're talking about breaking patterns, and when you break patterns, that even though an experience that you're having may conjure up something historically in the way that you've responded to something, is to take a look at it differently, that there's a different message there that can create growth.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a message in every interaction, whether it is positive or negative. And my personal belief is that the most powerful growth comes from the negative interactions, because we're so, like I said earlier, so it's so ingrained in us to act out of habit and patterns, that when we can break that and do something different, it takes our life on a whole different course. Whether it's a one little degree, that's fine. See, the point is that it's not there are so many different things that you can do to improve yourself and change. And it's a lifelong journey. It's not a destination that you're going to arrive to. It's a journey.
Right.
But when you pay attention to little things like that as they occur, and make a conscious effort to look at the situation and a conscious effort to act differently, to that situation, that one little bit compounds. So you do make a 1% change today, and you make a 1% change tomorrow on what you do and how you think. But that compounds, and you're going to develop a whole new you eventually.
So I'm wondering now, does it usually take something traumatic or something that causes people to come from being comatose and just kind of gliding through life and taking their experiences? I can't think of the word that I want to use, but and I guess what I'm trying to say is how do you come from being comatose to conscious, or being conscious about what it is that you're experiencing and your reaction to that? And how do you wake up from being comatose to being more conscious? Is that a desire that has to be innate within them, or does that make sense what I'm trying to say?
I believe so. And I think, first of all, is you have to, it's like when you have an addiction. It's like, and I don't want to profess to know much about the 12-step program, but the first thing you have to do is you have to admit you have an issue with alcohol. Okay? So the first thing you have to do is recognize and admit that, you know what, my life isn't what I want it to be right now. My life isn't going where I want it to go. Something has to change. And like Einstein said, the definition of insanity is doing the same things over and over again,
expecting different results. Yeah,
exactly. So that's the thing is you've got to be willing and ready and able to make that change when these occurrences happen, and to choose something different. So it's all about breaking those habits and patterns, and to be able to live your life on the conscious level. And when you live your life on purpose, it takes on a whole new dimension. And one of the biggest things that I have is I teach people what I call the 4 pillars. Okay, and these are important to me and make the most sense to me in becoming and living a conscious life. Okay, in leading a life of unlimited possibilities. So once again, if anybody's listening to this, if you're driving, don't do this. But if it's safe to do so, I have to make that disclaimer because I don't want anybody coming back and, hey, Scott told me to close my eyes. Okay. We're going to talk about accountability a little bit later. That would be an accountability issue. Okay, it wasn't your fault; it was my fault. So, all right, so close your eyes for a second. Play along with me, Scott. Close your eyes because I can see you. So close your eyes. There you go. Okay. So what I want you to imagine is the tabletop, and it's supported by 4 strong, sturdy legs, or these pillars.
Okay. And
it stands solid and unwavering when it has these 4 legs. And it's a support system for the tabletop. Okay? Now this tabletop is a representation of your life. Now the 4 legs can also support the weight of additional items that we place on that tabletop. Now in life, that could be representative of the stuff that happens in our life. That could be the depressing pain of a divorce, the embarrassment of a bankruptcy, or the pain of a death in the family, or a failure of business. Whatever it is, you can pile anything else on it that you can think of. Now, the more solid those 4 legs are, the more stuff the table or your life can support. Okay, now what happens to the picture in your mind if one of those legs are taken away or they're weakened?
It gives way to one, yes.
Less stable, okay? Now, it may stand with one taken away, but it's going to be rocking precariously upon the other 3, and they have a greater tendency to topple over without that support.
Right.
Now, what happens if you take away or weaken another one of those remaining 3 legs?
More unstable.
It's going to topple over.
Right.
Okay, you can open your eyes now.
Okay.
All right. So that's the importance of the 4 pillars, or the 4 legs, is they create a solid foundation for your life. Okay, and so I think you get the idea.
Okay.
Now, whether it's money or greater business success, or deeper and more intimate relationships, or just a life of peace and happiness, the 4 pillars are what are going to support your success in all areas of your life. Now, does that sound like an exciting proposition?
It does.
Okay, absolutely.
It sounds like it's viable. Very viable.
So, what I want you to do is I want you to get a full and lasting value from these concepts. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to cover something real quick that I call the possibility killer, and that's called cognitive dissonance. Are you familiar with that, Scott?
No, I am not.
Okay. Cognitive dissonance, it's probably the first time anybody's heard of this, but I believe it's important to discuss at this point so you're going to be open to receiving the optimum results from what I'm going to talk about. So just to give you a quick summary, cognitive dissonance theory is when an individual is exposed to new information or a belief system that's contrary to their current beliefs and their views, and it can actually create an excessive mental stress and actual physical discomfort. Okay? Now, your natural tendency, of course, is going to reduce or eliminate the stressor. That's just a natural reaction. And no one likes to be uncomfortable either physically or mentally. So here's a few things to look for in your thoughts and behaviors as you're listening to what we're going to talk about, and any other material that you may, be exposed to in the future. Now, if you're going to immediately reject the validity of this different belief system or this new idea, this new concept, there's a clue that's kicking in right there. If you're going to immediately reject it. And I know we've all done that, so let's be honest with ourselves, okay? I'm sure you have. I've done it before in the past. It's just a natural tendency. Now, what do you think or feel when I say UFOs are real? Or the 9/11 was a conspiracy crafted by the United States?
Well,
now, if those statements, what's that?
nothing. I was just going to say personally, I'm open with that. But anyway, I want to hear your example. Go ahead.
I'm there with you. I understand that. And just for most people, they aren't. So if those statements aren't part of your current belief system, they probably make you uncomfortable, and they probably make you mad. And you're rejecting them right now, immediately, as ludicrous, improbable, and flat out lie based on your current belief system. Okay? So that's one thing you want to look for. Second thing is if you're looking for supporting evidence to support the facts that those concepts are not valid. Are you searching your memory banks right now, or even ready to start hitting the internet trying to find information to repudiate what I just said? Okay? And thirdly, are you intentionally misinterpreting those beliefs in order to support your current belief system? Are you attaching thoughts or judgments to cloud the new concept so as not to see the full value and the ultimate support of your paradigm? Okay? So just be open to that. That's some food for thought, my gift to you, and to get the most out of this information, the concepts, and anything that you're going to be exposed to in the future. So just be aware of that. And once any of those start coming up, there's your key to start looking at that and go, okay, cognitive dissonance is kicking in. This is something new, a new paradigm. Let's maybe look at this more openly, okay? So let's examine, the first supporting leg of your table, which is choice. And that obviously is what my book is, The Art of Choice. And choice is the strongest of the four legs, and it's intimately connected and intertwined with the other three, which are accountability, perception, and possibility. So you have choice, accountability, perception, and possibility. And where you are right now, Scott, and anybody in life, physically, emotionally, and financially, is a direct reflection of every single choice that you've made up to this moment right now. Now, from this point forward, you're going to have the understanding that you have the ability to make different choices, and one that are in your highest and best interest and can help you redesign your destiny to read like a fairy tale, because it is possible. In understanding and embracing the true power of choice was the most profound and life-changing concept for me. And that's ultimately what led to me writing the book. And it's given me the freedom to rewrite the final chapters of my life. And now everything becomes possible because I understand the power of choice. Now, any given moment in your life, you have the ability to make choices that serve you in a positive way in every situation. Excuse me. Not too long ago, I think we had discussed this earlier, I was morbidly obese, and I was on the fast track to physical disability and possibly even death. I crushed the scales at nearly 400 pounds. I had a size 58 waist. Yeah. And my health, Scott, was in shambles. And when I ran errands, I would search for the closest parking lot spaces to where I had to go, because walking any distance was like running a marathon for me.
Right.
I couldn't fit in restaurant booths or go to the movies with my kids because I couldn't fit in the seats. And I actually went to the hospital twice by ambulance because I had palpitations. And frankly, I was afraid of dying. It was a dark and scary time. So what changed? I made a conscious decision. There's that word, conscious. Conscious decision. I made a choice to be healthy. And I chose to learn how to look at food differently. I chose to put different food in my body. I chose to monitor my thought processes around my health and around food. I chose counseling to help uncover the underlying issues that were sabotaging my health. And I chose to learn about nutrition and educate myself. And education is hugely important to me. And I believe we discussed this earlier. It's not education and knowledge. Knowledge is hugely powerful, but it's really not powerful unless you implement the knowledge that you have. So I educated myself, and I learned everything I could about diet and nutrition, and why what worked and what didn't, and why things that certain people said weren't really the truth, and on and on and on. And in my quest for health, I found an amazing little nutritional system that helped me to melt away almost 140 pounds. And I've changed my eating habits and how I perceive food and the types of food I put in my body. And, now I don't have to shop in the big and tall section, and I don't feel like I'm an embarrassment to my family when I'm out in public, or to myself. And now my life's on a fast track to things that I could only have dreamt of in the past. So, I know it sounds simplistic, but it really is as simple as making a different choice every day in which you encounter choices that serve your life in a positive way. You can choose out of an argument.
Yeah, I think simplicity is actually the most profound way to go. I mean, that's, if it's simple for everyone, it makes it easier to consider and to implement. That's just my feeling about it.
Sure, simple is it. And what is that, Occam's razor, that says that the simplest answer is one that tends to be the correct answer? Excuse me. You can choose to associate with a different circle of friends, ones that lift you up to see you for the amazing person that you are. You can choose not to have an affair. You can choose not to speed when you're driving. You can choose not to smoke the next cigarette. You can choose to eliminate the self-talk. You can choose what books and television shows you expose yourself to. You have the choice every day, Scott, and in every single situation to create something different. And you have the power to make choices that will serve you and help you attain everything that you deserve in life, deserve and desire. Now, the thing is you have to look at is, are your daily choices in all these different areas, are they serving you in your highest and best possible way? And if they're not, you can follow this simple formula that I've developed. It's called E plus YR equals R. Don't worry, it doesn't have anything to do with algebra or geometry, because I wasn't good at
Thank goodness.
Yeah. In the equation, E stands for an event. Now, an event is every thought that you may have about something, or every incident that happens at any given moment in your day. That's event. That's what the E is. And then YR stands for your reaction to that event. So E plus YR, event plus your reaction. The reaction you have to your thoughts or events, all right? And then R stands for the results that are produced by your reaction to that thought or event. So you have your events. Go ahead.
I was just going to say that it seems to me the events are going to happen, whatever they are. Of course, they can be influenced by decisions you've made earlier, but events is something that happens, and your reaction is something that you can choose differently in order to get another result that perhaps may not have worked out in a past experience where you reacted the same.
Exactly. And see, that's the thing. In the equation, as far as like math goes, I believe the E would be like the constant. That does not change. That's exactly the constant. E is the constant for everybody. Events are going to happen. People are going to die. People are going to leave you. You're going to lose a job. And good things. And then the event doesn't necessarily have to be negative.
Right.
Okay, because people react certain ways, even negative ways, to positive things. You could get a new job. and sabotage that job. You could get the possibility of getting a speaking gig somewhere and sabotage that somehow. And to be quite frank and honest, because I'm always trying to be open and to share with people that, you know what, I'm really nobody special. It's just I've paid attention to the things that have happened in my life. And I sabotaged quite a few things in my life. And I was writing an article for a national trade magazine quite a few number of years ago. And it was a monthly column, and I was teaching marketing at the time at the local community college and doing my own seminars. And I actually missed a deadline on an article. And it was something that was purely just a sabotage move, because there's no reason that I should have missed the deadline. And they asked my column. You don't mess around when somebody has to put a publication out and they have deadlines to meet. And it's just something I did after 10 months, and I just sabotaged that.
Right.
So I'm very familiar with that. And so it's like I said, even good things that happen, you have to pay attention to your reaction to stuff. And let me give you another example of E plus YR equals R. So let's say, Scott, that you woke up one morning and your thought was, you know what, I think I'm going to call in sick to work because I want to go to the beach. Now, what are the possible results of that happening? There's the event. That was a thought. A thought is an event, okay? Now, could you get fired if you call in sick? Would you get a written warning? Would you create more work for your coworkers? Is it going to weigh heavy on your conscience for doing that? And is it going to maybe support your deeply held belief that you're not a team player or you're a slacker? Now, in this case, I don't believe that your choice to call in sick would be in your highest and best interest. Your action moving forward with your decision is not going to create a pleasant result. It's not going to be one that serves you in a positive way. Or how about, let's say you come home from work and your spouse, who's an addict, is high again. How do you react to that? Do you create an argument? Do you blame them for their lack of self-control? Do you say hurtful and mean things because you don't like interacting with them while they're high? None of those reactions to that current situation are going to serve you or that situation in a positive manner. So you really can't choose to react in love and with empathy. You can't choose to remove yourself from that relationship. You can choose to put yourself in one that is going to be more joyful, peaceful, and loving. See, the great news is that your free will of choice can be exercised in any manner and at any time to give you a more positive, self-serving outcome or result. Remember, the choice is always yours in everything. Okay?
Right.
So this leads me to the next supporting leg or pillar, which is accountability. And it's a very real and persistent obstacle to designing a magical life. When you learn to take 100% responsibility and hold yourself accountable for everything, your life's going to take on a whole new energy.
I think that's a very strong word, because accountability, I have found in my observation, is that that many people do not take accountability for things that they've done. It's always better to put it off on somebody else than to look at myself and say, hey, look, it was really me that did this to myself.
Exactly. And most people want to blame outside, external incidents, external people, everything but themselves internally. But when you do that, your overall performance is going to improve. Your relationships are going to flourish, and the people are going to have more respect for you, and you're going to have more respect for yourself. And when you can get in the practice of holding yourself accountable, you're going to distinguish yourself from a majority of the world, Scott, because most people do not hold themselves accountable for everything in life. They want to blame everybody else. Right. And when I became accountable and took full responsibility for my poor health, things started to change. I wasn't overweight because my family was cooking unhealthy foods. I was unhealthy because I chose to eat those unhealthy foods and eat too much of them. It wasn't my mother's fault for teaching me bad eating habits. My poor health was because I chose to continue those bad habits instead of changing them. And when I took full responsibility for the condition of my life and my health, incredible things started to happen for me. So let's look at an example from earlier in regards to calling off sick from work with accountability. So
Okay.
what if you did get fired for calling off sick? Was it your boss's fault that you got fired? Now, a lot of people are going to blame the boss.
Right.
Why couldn't he just make an exception for you? You're a good employee. Otherwise, excuse me, would you maybe go into a tirade blaming the strict policies at work and they're unforgiving? Or would you create a Facebook posting campaign for proclaiming the unfair practices that your former employer has? These types of blaming reaction are stressors, and stressors wreak havoc physically and mentally on you. They can create fatigue, chest pains. They can lower your sex drive. Nobody wants that, do they? There's a general irritability, depression, and they can trigger other destructive behavior. So the bottom line, blaming is not in the highest and best interest of your quest for an extraordinary life.
I have found, Scott, I apologize for interrupting you there.
Not at all. Yes.
The thing that I just wanted to mention here that I found in being accountable for my actions, it gave me control over my life. Whenever I was to blame anybody for anything that happened to me, I was giving my power away of who I was, and that I didn't have control over choosing who I really wished to be. And so to me, taking accountability empowers me. Would you agree with that?
Oh yes, absolutely, definitely. And most people give up their power, like you said, to other people when it's not them, it's you. And when you can take that on and own that, that gives you a new sense about yourself, and where you are in life, and in how life is all about you and not the external forces in your life that are happening. So it's just, you know what, you only have one life to live. So you have to be accountable for everything. You have to be a living role model for yourself and for others. You have to live in peace and create an extraordinary life that you deserve. And accountability helps you do that. You and only you are responsible for the quality of the life that you live. Everybody. So be accountable and design that magical life that you deserve to have, and create a whole different, pattern, a whole different way of doing things. So
now,
that's pretty much.
Now, people that are in a comatose type mentality, they're not usually going to make a decision to start being cognizant, would they?
If they normally live that way, no.
Yeah, well, what I'm referring to there is I kind of take a look at the world right now and the things that are going on, and I have a high opinion about where I see humanity going as far as taking a path of an infinite road as opposed to self-annihilation. And I see the planet as people that are asleep, and I also see people waking up in record numbers, because some of the authors and speakers that I follow that I'm interested in say when they do when they travel to the different parts of the world in order to do their show, they say that people are waking up at phenomenal rates. So to me that signifies that comatose, though it was a normal way of living as a human race, that we are starting to wake up. We're starting to wake up, and we're yawning, and we're wiping the sleep out of our eyes, and we're looking for something that will be more control of our life, which to me is being comatose to consciousness, or waking up to move beyond rejecting validity or the cognitive dissident to accountability. So, and that leads to where does that lead to now?
Well, the third, and I think you're so right on with that, Scott. First of all, and yeah, there's most everybody is running around in an unconscious and a comatose state, but in record numbers, yes, there's an energy shift on the planet, and that's and I think it's going to have a what's the word I'm looking for, a geometric progression as more and more people awaken to the fact that what we were taught and what is propagated through life and how life should be or could be lived. When they see that there is the difference and the possibility of doing things differently, then that opens up a whole new world for them. And that's why one of the reasons that I'm writing the book is to share that with people. And you have to have your niche market for when you do seminars, when you write books, when when you're marketing things. And my niche is for people that are unconscious and comatose, that know there's got to be something different, but they haven't a freaking clue what it is. But they know there's something out there. And that's what this is start opening people's minds, because it goes so much deeper than the stuff I cover. And obviously, as you're probably aware of that, Scott, in the different levels in talking about energy and so forth. This is all just scratch the surface, just to get people to awaken to the fact that there are simple, easy things that they can do to implement in their life, both physically and mentally, to change the course of that and live a more happy and more prosperous, blissful, joyful living. Because that's what we're all here for. We're not here to live the miserable life that most people are living. Life is just absolutely amazing. It's just we'd have these blinders on and we can't see that right now. And my hope is that this book will start opening people's eyes and lead them on that path that they could start walking down to self-educate themselves.
Well, I think the timing is really appropriate, because with people waking up in record numbers, there has to be something in place for people, like people such as yourself and myself, who've been looking at this particular thing or this particular subject about waking up for a long time, have really educated ourselves to a point where we can kind of visualize what reality can be like, as opposed to what we're experiencing now, living from a comatose state. So I think the timing for the book is perfect, because it will provide people a path to start focusing on, so that they can choose to become a larger version of who they are in the moment, and moving more towards living in harmony with each other, with the planet, and with all other life forms that populate our realities.
Absolutely. Our realities are such a manufacture of our own self. We create our own realities. That's not something I have to tell you, because you know that.
Right.
In the realities that we create, and we hold ourselves in a prisoner in our own realities. And when you do that, see, to go to a more scientific level for the law of attraction, it goes along with, first of all, obviously you have to wake up, like you said, to the fact that there is something different and better. And knowing that where your focus goes, your energy flows. Okay?
Right.
And scientifically, if you're going to focus on lack of money, through the law of attraction, you're going to attract everything in your life to keep you in that lack. And that scientifically can be explained by the reticular activation system, RAS. And it is one of the first line defenses in your brain, because let me backtrack a little bit. Daily, we're exposed to thousands and thousands and thousands of different messages. Advertising messages alone, we're exposed to, every person is exposed to well over 3,000 advertising messages a day.
Wow. Besides
that, you're also exposed to senses, different sights, different feelings, different sounds. Your brain is constantly bombarded with millions and millions of different bits of information throughout the day. And in order to keep you sane, your reticular activation system filters out of the incoming messages. It filters out the stuff that is not pertinent to your belief system, and filters out the things that you're not interested in. So if and that's just a fact. You can research that, okay?
Right.
And so here's a perfect example of reticular activating system. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. What kind of car do you own, Scott?
A Honda Civic.
Honda. Okay. So before you owned a Honda Civic, did you have another Honda?
I had not. No,
Okay.
I had a Chrysler Concord.
Okay. So when you owned your Chrysler, did you pay attention to Hondas?
No,
No. Now, when you were thinking of buying a Honda, did you start seeing them more on the road?
everywhere.
Now that you purchase one, do you see them on the road all over the place, right?
Right. That is a good
That
example.
okay, that's your reticular activating system in gear. Now it's something important to you. Now it's part of your thought process. So now you have the ability to see those cars all over the road because it is what you are focusing on, and now your RAS is letting that enter your brain. It doesn't mean that they were never there before. It's now your brain is letting that enter the filtering system. And that's the same thing scientifically as the law of attraction and attracting a perfect mate into your life or attracting more money or so forth, is that when you focus on like the lack of money, then your brain is not going to see all the possibilities that exist in life for you to make more money. It's not going to let you see your innate talents that you could share with the world. It's not going to let you see the different business opportunities that come across your path that you ultimately dismiss right off the bat because of cognitive dissonance. See, this all plays together. So when you open yourself up and open yourself up to the fact that, you know what, I deserve more money. I am worth more money. I have more money. Money is part of my life. Money flows to me effortlessly and freely. You're going to start seeing all the different ways that were already there, Scott, but now they're going to start coming in and letting you take advantage of them. So that's the technical brain explanation of the law of attraction. But yes, it's all. I don't know how we got off on that subject, but I think it was important to talk about. So,
Absolutely.
so we have kind of accountability. Okay, so we talked about accountability. So the third leg of the system, the support system, would be your perception. Now, any one event in your life, Scott, can be interpreted in a myriad of different ways. Okay, and that's okay. We're all individuals with the freedom to view any situation in our lives any which way we choose to. So the issue of perception arises when our viewpoint does not serve us in our best interest. So perceptions of events, they often get muddled with our ego and end up clouding our thoughts and obscuring them from serving a higher purpose. And your destiny is governed by your perceptions and your thoughts about things. And simply and eloquently illustrated, I love this, by Lao Tzu. Are you familiar with Lao Tzu?
Somewhat, yes.
Okay, so I love reading quotes from people because they have such an eloquent way of putting things together. And when I write, it takes me a while to put things together eloquently. So I love to read them because it's great motivation. And one of the ones that I read on a consistent basis is from Lao Tzu. And he said that if you watch your thoughts, they become words. If you watch your words, they become actions. You watch your actions, they become habits. And if you watch your habits, they become your character. And if you watch your character, they become your destiny.
Wow. That's,
And
I love the
that's
simplicity
profound,
of
isn't
that.
it?
Yeah, I love the simplicity and the profundity of it.
Oh, absolutely. I'd say I got chills again. I get chills every time I read it. And so it all goes back to our thoughts and our perceptions that surround an event, and they're just interpretations. That's all they are. It doesn't mean they're true. It's our own personalized version, which is a concoction of all our past experiences and our tightly held belief systems. And in reality, every event that occurs in our life, Scott, is really meaningless.
Right. We're not who we thought we were. In other words, we're not our past experiences. We are who we are in the moment. And, just because we've done something in the past, like for me, abusing alcohol, and many other things I'm sure I could bring up. That's not who I am. I can move away from that and I can become something else. So I don't need to be labeled or titled with whatever. I can choose to be something new, no matter what.
Exactly, exactly, and even your thoughts too, not just your actions, but your thoughts. They're only going to possess the meaning that we give them because we choose to give them that meaning. And if you own that and you're accountable for creating and believing in your perceptions at any given situation that happens, if you know that it's yours and yours only, and it doesn't mean that it's true, that gives you a freedom. See, I think all too often we get stuck in a thought or idea or perception of the world, and while we're stuck there, we fully believe that we know what's happening or being said, but it's all based on a past experience, and it's egocentric thinking. You know, have you ever washed your glasses for a short period of time, Scott, and looked all over your house or home for a moment to find them on your head?
And they weren't, yes.
They're on your head. Okay, yes, I've done that, okay? So I'm embarrassed to say that, but I have. I've done that. And the reason that happens is because you're so stuck in that singular viewpoint and that ego of those damn glasses got to be somewhere else, not in my head, and I'm not going to look at my head, and that's where they end up being, instead of considering all possibilities.
Right.
And, you know, when I realized that my perceptions were my choice and not a fact, and it gave me a true sense of freedom. And I realized that my impressions or thoughts about an event were solely my judgments and were not the reality that they imagined they were. And I highly recommend a book. I don't know if you're familiar with it, you may be, A Course in Miracles.
Yes.
Okay, the first 15 lessons deal heavily with this concept. And when you can develop a deep and full understanding of that concept, you almost feel foolish for the way you've perceived and reacted to situations in the past. That book is absolutely amazing. So once again, for everybody that's listening, A Course in Miracles, it's absolutely a phenomenal book. It'll give you a lot of freedom in knowing that, wow, okay, life is not what I thought it was, okay? But there's gifts in all situations, Scott, in all things. And yeah, I said all. It's just a matter of perception. And that perception is your choice. It all goes back to choice. And this reminds me of a story I heard a number of years ago. There's two 8-year-old twin brothers, Pete and Nate. Now, Pete was eternally positive, and he found the good in every situation. He was always smiling and laughing. And on the other hand, he had his brother Nate. Positive Pete and negative Nate. Okay, Nate, on the other hand, was very negative and was always in a bad mood. And he was the sort of person that would win a $10 million lottery and complain about the 50% he had to pay. Okay, so the twins' parents, they obviously really appreciated Pete and his choices, looking at everything in a positive manner. But you know, they figured that there had to be a limit to his enthusiastic exuberance for life and everything. So Pete and Nate's parents decided to do a little experiment with the twin 9-year-old for the twins, 8-year-old twins, for their 9th birthday. So they went down to the local farm and they collected an enormous pile of smelly cow manure, and they had it trucked in and they dumped it in the backyard. Now, while positive Pete was out playing at his friend's house, his parents, they were all excited. They called in negative Nate to the backyard to see his birthday present. And they said, "Nate, here's your birthday present." And they walked him in the backyard. And they received the exact reaction they expected. He was not happy, to say the least, and he ran to his room crying. Okay? So when positive Pete came home from playing at his friend's house, his parents were all excited. They called him into the backyard. And without hesitation, Scott, Pete jumped out of the pile and began rolling around in the manure, throwing it everywhere. He ran around the backyard, looking behind trees and inside the shed, and squealing in pure joy, and the whole time. And his parents were stunned. They just looked at each other, and they couldn't believe their eyes and their ears. And they stopped Pete mid-fling with a handful of manure, and they practically yelled at him. They said, "Pete, stop! What are you doing? Why are you so excited?" Pete stopped, and he kind of looked at them confused by their question, and he said, "With all this crap in his backyard, there's got to be a pony around here somewhere." Okay? You know, it all boils down to perception, and that's so true. I love that story. I don't even remember where I heard that story. It's so many years ago.
Oh, that's great.
You know, that's what I call a perception shift. It's thinking and possibility. You know, and that leads in that. Wow, it's just amazing. So that's going to lead us to our last supporting leg, which is possibility. Okay, and like I said earlier, I love reading quotes, and especially on Facebook, and I put them a lot on my wall, and that's pretty much all. I don't partake in the negative banter on Facebook. I think there's just far too much of that. And one of my favorite quotes is from. Are you familiar with the old Israeli Prime Minister Golda Meir years back?
Yes.
Okay, some of the younger people would maybe not be familiar with them, but she said, "Trust yourself. Create the kind of self that you'll be happy to live all your life. Make the most of yourself by fanning the tiny inner sparks of possibility into flames of achievement." How powerful is that? So
Uh,
many people are unaware of the tiny sparks of possibility that they have that exist in their life, and that they have the ability to flame those into great achievements, and whatever that is for anybody. And that when we understand that our reality is an invented universe, Scott, it gives us the freedom and the possibility to invent and create an entirely customized truth for our life. It enables us to step into the realm of possibility. And in my book, Manifest Miracles, I stated that you open yourself up to the possibility after you send your desire out to the universe. And through the law of attraction, anything can happen and anything is possible. And it's an incredible feeling to wake up every morning knowing that I'm creating my fairy tale life. I have set my intention of becoming a world-renowned author, speaker, and a lifestyle coach. And I have spoken that possibility to the universe, and it will deliver, because I have spoken that. I can see it, I can feel it, I can smell it. And have you ever wondered how you can influence all the possibilities that exist?
yes.
Okay, for simplicity's sake, because simplicity is good, right?
Right.
Okay, you can follow these 3 steps to help ignite the law of attraction for your desired outcome. You need to get a clear vision about what you desire. And once you've worked that out, sit down in silence for a second and clearly ask the universe for your desire. Phrase it simply and clearly. Like, I desire a speaking career making $1 million per year. That's a good example. Now, never ask for what you don't want. Too many people are programmed in the negative.
Mm-hmm.
Like, have you ever said, somebody says, don't forget to? Well, when
Right.
they tell you don't forget, you're going to forget. Tell somebody, remember to, okay?
Right.
I don't want to be sick anymore doesn't work. That's a statement that's poorly formulated. So stating things in the negative terms produces the opposite of what we desire. So always ask for what you want in a positive term. And the next, open yourself up to receive. Once you've set your attention, keep an eye and ear open to all the new possibilities and opportunities to show themselves, because they're going to.
Right. Yeah.
And you have to be. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, when I've done things of this nature before, I wasn't being uh, aware of what was coming to me, so that I would choose, to take advantage of the choices that were coming to me, to flow through to flow through the process of what I was asking the universe to bring to me.
One thing I could say to that possibly, Scott, would be that because you set a certain parameter in your mind, whether conscious or subconsciously, of what those opportunities may need to look like.
Right.
And so when you remove the constraints of all possibility and how they have to appear, what they have to look like, what they have to smell like, who has to be involved with them, you're more apt to see the opportunities when they present themselves. So that's great. Yeah, absolutely. So I think that's important to say then, is to be open to everything, because it might be a chance encounter with somebody at a coffee shop that you strike up a conversation with, that leads you to a person who leads you to a person who leads you to your ultimate, to something that is ultimately going to fulfill
Right.
that destiny. But if you don't hold yourself open to that conversation with that person, you're going to miss it. There's not going to be a profound thing that drops out of the sky and says, here it is, okay? You never know.
Right. Yeah.
You just have to go with life and take everything in as it comes.
The word that really strikes to me, and you're talking just then, is open. To me, open being open-minded is something that's really important in order to progress forward. Would you?
Absolutely,
Because I
absolutely. Were you
mean,
just
yeah, because often, when I've talked to some people, and some of the things that I talk about are similar to the things that you publish in your online magazine. Uh, that a lot of those things seem kind of fantastical, and a lot of people will be very closed-minded about the opportunities. And usually, when I talk about things, I usually talk about it from the level of humanity, not really on an individual type basis, but usually from a larger perspective. And I get rejective attitudes, in the way that I look at things. So being open-minded to me is an important thing to
uh,
consider.
absolutely, absolutely, and it all goes back to when we talked about cognitive dissonance earlier. You have to watch for those things to show up with cognitive dissonance. Are you immediately rejecting the validity of something that's different immediately without even looking at a possibility? Are you looking for supporting evidence to support that these concepts aren't valid? And three, are you intentionally misinterpreting them in order to support your own current beliefs? So I say that's the first step, is knowing and understanding that anything new that's going to come into your life, you have to look for those. It's the cognitive dissonance kicking in. And when you can be open to that and recognize that, and start to look at the different possibilities, then your RAS kicks in, and now all those things will start appearing to support that new paradigm, that new, the concept or whatever it may be, that, wow, maybe this is something that I need to take a look at. How does that saying go, Scott? The highest form of ignorance is um, immediately dismiss. I don't know exactly how, but the highest form of ignorance is immediately dismissing a new concept or thought without even investigating it, basically, without getting the facts behind it. And so many people do that.
Yeah, the image that comes to mind in relaying that, there's a cartoon that shows this castle, and and I don't really like using the analogy of war, but they're at war with people that possess things like swords and bow and arrows, and behind the moat door is a salesman standing there with a Gatling gun, and and they're not opening that door to see who's there for the opportunity that they have in order to conquer the war that they're experiencing at that moment.
Beautiful, yeah, absolutely, beautiful illustration. Yeah, simplicity. I love that.
Me as well.
Simplicity. That's where I am aiming to take myself is to a place of simplicity in explaining things, because I believe sometimes I have a tendency to convolute things and make them a little bit more complicated than they need to be. But yes, absolutely. So we were back to the third step. So we had first step is be clear about what your desire is, and put it out to the universe, and then be open to receive. Okay, like I said, open to receiving what's going to show up, and then keep your negative thoughts or judgments at bay. Okay, keep your focus on the things that you desire, and once you set your intentions, you open yourself up to receiving and keeping focus on those desires, and two things are going to happen. Okay, first of all, the universe is either going to throw you a curveball to test you, so be ready for the roadblocks, because they're going to come. The strength of your four supporting legs are going to help support you and assist you in maneuvering these roadblocks. And then you're going to be guided down the path to attaining your desire. So be open for that, because once you put that intention out there, things are going to show up. It is inevitable. It happens. And then secondly, everything is going to start to fall into place. Things, events, and people are going to start showing up in your life to lead you on that fast track to your goal, whatever it may be. So yeah, enjoy the ride, my friends. It's a blast, let me tell you. So it goes into more depth. If you want to go ahead and go to my website, I believe you're scrolling it across the bottom of the screen, scottvenetia.com. You can get a free copy of Manifest Miracles on there. And, Scott,
I've downloaded it and read it. It is a good book.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. my writing is improving. I've gone through it and go, okay, I need to rewrite this. So, but
Yeah, I
thank you
have
for that. I
found that
appreciate
I've
that.
written things 10 or 15 times, and sometimes, I mean, it can always get better, I guess. But I think it's important to get the information out there, and just to kind of support the story that you're telling us, is that um, that as you start down the path of the choice that you make, you're going to start out not being um, not being who it is that you're choosing to be, because it's a process. And so as time goes by in our life experiences, we find that we become better and more fine-tuned to the choice that we're making, until one day we wake up and that we are that choice that we made. Like for your, like like to become, like my thing is just to be a spiritual teacher, and to be in the spotlight with a message, consciously being connected to God. And so my desire is to help people, or to give people back to themselves. Um,
Amen, brother. I love the way you think.
cool, thank you. Yeah, I resonate with you a lot as well. I mean, news without the blues, I've kind of gone through that, and you have all types of contributors that you that you use to put out that, and there's a lot of people that you use, and there are some of the same people that I obtain my information from, of my observation of what's going on in the world, and also for confirmation of who it is that I'm choosing to be. But I don't want to. Again, I think you've gotten up to the two steps of the four guideposts, or the four posts. And have you gone to accountability and to the last one,
Right.
results?
Right. No, the four. No, I went through the four pillars,
Pillars.
which were choice, accountability, possibility, and perception.
Right.
So
Okay.
we covered, yeah, because I think of what you mixed up the formula with those. The E plus YR equals R of the results. I believe. Did I hear you correctly?
Yeah, yeah. Well,
Okay.
I was trying to come from memory. I was writing things down, and for me to talk and to write and to speak at the same time, I'm finding is rather a challenge for me. So,
Yeah, I think you do it very very well. I mean, I have one thing to focus on, and that's to try to remember everything I need to say. So, no, you do very well, Scott.
thank you.
Absolutely. No, yeah, we did cover those, and what it all boils down to is we don't get to choose, when we're born, Scott. We don't get to choose when we leave this planet. But what we do with our lives in between those times, it's what makes all the difference. And I totally, sincerely, wholeheartedly believe that choice, accountability, perception, and possibility should become the hallmark of everyone's life. And these four supporting legs of your life are all intertwined and work together, feeding off and fueling each other. And, when that happens, now everything becomes possible from this point forward.
Well, I really appreciate you sharing this with me and giving me information in order for me to improve myself in the choices that I make, and giving me simplicity uh, to follow in order to get the end results that I desire. And simplicity, I really thrive off of that, because I'm kind of a simple guy. But anyway, I think have you expressed everything that you wanted to share with us at this time?
I think so. I think I've pretty much communicated what I need to communicate, and I'm sure a half hour from now I'll go, oh, I should have said that, but that's how it always goes. But yeah, I would just reiterate, if everybody can go to my website, scottvenesia.com, and go ahead and download a copy of my free ebook, Manifest Miracles: The Hidden Keys to Unlocking Law of Attraction. And coming soon, there's actually a placeholder right now. There's going to be a website for the art of choice. It's called Master the Art, masteryourlife.com, where people can go to sign up to get snippets from the book. And I'm going to release a chapter, and in the coming months, free chapter before the book is released to people, and then they'll get first dibs on the book before it's released. So
Cool. Now, and is there any kind of guesstimate time when this will be making it to the shelves of the bookstores?
Um, I would. I was looking at the first quarter of next year, but with the completion of the book and with all the publishing and editing and stuff, I would say that would be optimistic. For me, for the first quarter, that's what I've been telling people. It's probably going to be more like the second quarter
Okay.
of next year by the time it hits the shelves. So,
Yeah, I'm excited. I
but
want to. I'm ready to read it. So
woohoo! Awesome. I have a dedicated reader now. I like that.
yes. All right. Well, thank you, Scott. I appreciate you being here and sharing your speech platform from comatose to consciousness. I think it's important information, and it's definitely something for people that are waking up, that are wanting to make something of themselves, or to move beyond a particular rut or a particular experience that they're having in life, and they want to move forward. I think it's a great. Actually, I think all the material that you have are good things to start using to implement in one's life to start gaining control over it.
Absolutely. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Okay, thank you to all who view this show. This is Scott Hobgood with Beyond Normal Boundaries signing off.